Hello, this is CholeraSC, and I am about to cast the MSL Survivor group with Savior in it, and literally my stomach is filled with butterflies, filled with Mutalisk butterflies. I am more nervous about casting this group than I have been about any game in a very, very, very long time, because this is going to show us once again whether Savior is out of his slump or whether he's just still in this mire, in this quagmire of a slump that he's been in, despite having been on the B team for a few weeks and then now coming back to being restored onto CJ's A team. It is still by no means sure whether Savior, our fallen Savior, has come out of the slump that he's been in for the last almost year now. And here he is going to be fighting Spear in Game 1 of the MSL Survivor Group 6. Spear, of course, if you guys remember, was the player who took out who defeated Savior in the first game of the OSL Round of 36 group that he played in the last OSL. And he did that despite Savior catching his cheese build, building some gateways, proxy gateways next to his base on Harangdo. You guys should check out that game if you haven't, but it's kind of depressing because Savior, quite frankly, played terribly in that game. And of course, I was one of the casters who made a eulogy for Savior afterwards. I did report that Savior was deceased after that game. When he just played so terribly, got knocked out of the OSL, and ended up in the B team of CJ for a few weeks, washing laundry and just practicing his heart out. Here is Savior, of course, the red Zerg. He is my favorite Zerg player of all time, as he is such a the favorite player for so many foreigners. Foreigners love him. Really, he is one of the most beloved foreigners among us. Mainly, I think, because a lot of foreigners start picking up on the Korean StarCraft scene back when the first commentaries were released in 2006-2007, and back then Savior was the best player in the world, as Klazart was such a big fan of his also. Savior, of course, spawning in red as a Zerg player at the 3 o'clock position. Sorry I didn't mention this, but this is the map Athena. And Athena is a 3-player map, interesting map for the MSL, pretty evenly balanced between Zerg and Protoss, 3-4 in the Zerg versus Protoss lineup. Here we're seeing Savior trying to bring out a drone, perhaps it's a drone scout actually. He's not going to be able to plant that second hatchery though, because Spear is doing the standard probe harass there, trying to prevent Savior from planting, and Savior, note, has not gone for the 9 pool that has been so popular among Zerg players, especially July and Luxury in recent days, against the Protoss. Savior instead trying to plant that 12 hatchery, and oh man, Savior has having trouble with it, but oh, cleverly, Savior has picked up his second expansion now. Meanwhile, Spear, seeing that Savior has gone for hatchery first, has decided to go Nexus first in his Forge Fast expand here. That is going to put him in a bit of an economic lead. Savior, meanwhile, picking up, I believe, that natural only there at the 4 o'clock position. Savior still hasn't picked up his natural expansion, though, his first natural with gas, and this is a little surprising from Savior, mainly because that probe is still there and still just scouting. Savior perhaps looping around to the south, looking for proxies. Now he's going to know there's no proxy, of course, because the Forge is up. He's going to see the Nexus. There's no chance of a proxy gateway anywhere or anything like that. So now he's bringing 2 drones over to try to chase away that probe and finally set down this natural expansion. Oh, Spear taking 100 minerals and building a pylon there, so further delaying Savior. I think Spear at this point has to suspect that Savior has another hatchery, but I don't think Spear knows where the hatchery is. He didn't manage to get into Savior's main base because of the drone blocking that location. So he doesn't know where Savior has planted the second hatchery, whether it's inside of his base or, as is the case, he's planted it at the 4 o'clock location. And Savior, meanwhile, has that Overlord hanging around Spear's base. So I'd say a pretty even opening. I think it's smart that Savior picked up a double expand. We'll have to see how he does in the mid game and the late game. Now, he's been having so many problems as of late against Protoss players, and this is really sad because Protoss is his best lineup. He did lose to Free in the last, I believe, the best of 3 they played in the World Cyber Games qualifiers, I believe, and really unceremoniously being beaten by Free. And Savior was the best against Protoss in his lineups. Despite all the recent losses, he's still a whopping 68% against Protoss. Think about it, a 2-to-1 ratio in his lifetime of many games against Protoss. Spear, meanwhile, though, not poor at all against Zerg. He is 66% against Zerg. It's his specialty among his few lineups that he's played a lot of games for. and really he is going to be facing a difficult opponent, a tricky opponent here in Savior, but we'll have to see how much Savior has recuperated. To be honest, I don't know. Spear going for a very standard Cybernetics core here out of one gateway, and now he's probably going to go for that Corsair. I'm going to guess a Corsair Reaver build on this map would probably be the best because of the way Savior is spread out and how Protoss players have been generally leaning towards Corsair Reaver as an opening recently. Savior, meanwhile, continuing to mine out of the 3 hatcheries. Spear, I don't think... Spear, yes, finally Spear has now noticed the 4 o'clock expansion, so Savior now is going to have to protect both expansions from the Protoss harass when it does come. Savior, meanwhile, going for a fast lair here. No Hydralisk Den up for Savior just yet. Looks like he's might be going for something like a Spire build, although I think that is generally not favored among Zerg players. I think he's probably going to go for the standard Hydralisk build, but we'll have to see if Savior's come up with anything special on this map. He certainly has been taking a lot of time to practice. You guys should check out the new interview with him on scforall.com. He does this nice interview that's translated into English, and he talks about some of his recent the fact that recently he's just been trying his best to practice and get in good shape again for his fans, and also how he really doesn't want to just be satisfied with much beating Firebite Hero. He wants to do it himself also. And now we do see the Robotics Facility and a Stargate going up for Spear, so he is going to be going for that Corsair Reaver. Savior, meanwhile, putting down the Spire first. Yes, as we're seeing, he's going for the Spire first, and he is going to be going the Scourge route, I think, initially, and now planting the 4th hatchery. We'll see if he decides to build Mulisks. I probably, I'm going to guess right now he's not going to actually build any Mulisks. He's just going to go for Scourge, because he has planted that 4th hatchery and the Hydralisks then. Meanwhile, the first Corsair out for Spear. He is going to be going for scouting. And by the way, should you guys have some time, please do check out sc2gg.com, especially in the general StarCraft Lounge. The StarCraft Lounge, I posted a list of what I consider the best messages I've received from my viewers. In fact, thanks to you guys, I've received over 300 messages. That's right, 300 messages with short biographies and life stories in the last 2 or 3 weeks that I've been asking for them. And it's just such an incredibly diverse group of viewers, both in geography and in occupation and in age, and also in how aware you guys were about StarCraft previous to the last few months. A lot of you guys were very experienced players, but quite a few were also just recently introduced into StarCraft because of the influx of new commentators like the ones from SC2GG. Meanwhile, sorry about that, but Savior has built Scourge now, and he might be able to catch that shuttle. He's got so many Scourge flying around inside of Spear's base. We'll have to see how well he protects the shuttle. Meanwhile, Savior is going to face a little bit of a raiding party here. I don't think it's going to go very far, though. Just 4 Zealots and 1 Dragoon for Spear. Spear, meanwhile, has started upgrading +1 attack. He's actually been upgrading that for a while. Savior unable to pick off that shuttle. Spear cleverly putting it over that photon cannon. So Savior is going to be facing a difficult defense, though. And I'm sorry, actually the 4 o'clock location does have a gas also. So Savior on 3 gas, and this could make a big difference in this game, actually. Savior on 3 gas from such an early point in the game, and I think this is going to give him quite an advantage if Spear doesn't do a lot of damage. And oh, the Scourge are there! Will Savior be able to land a Scourge? No, looks like Savior does not land a Scourge, so not very good for Savior there. His first 6 Scourge not managing to catch anything. That's a bit of a loss in terms of gas, of course. And now Savior is going to have to be on the defensive. He's going to be very, very careful and very attentive about where this Reaver is going to go. He really does not need to lose a lot of drones at that 2nd natural, which I think is especially vulnerable. I'm not sure what set of defenses he has there just yet.